Am I the a-hole for not wanting to spend my lottery winning on a new car for my boyfriend? Recently, I, female 26, have won quite a lot of money in lottery. It's not the main prize, but it was one of the top 3, and it's a life-changing amount in my country. I grew up poor, very poor, and while I worked my way up, my closest family is still struggling. I help, but I cannot fix everything. At least I couldn't before. My winnings were recently deposited to my bank account, completely separate one to my normal one, and I'm not touching that money until I have my meeting with my financial advisors that I hired. My plan is to use small amount of money to enjoy, use part to improve my family's life, like buying them flats that they can later on afford to upkeep but in safer place and of better quality, and invest the vast majority in different ventures to ensure a stream of revenue for years to come so I can live comfortably and help my family. The only people that know are my closest family and my boyfriend, Andy, male 30. We've been together for 7 months, but we don't live together. Andy has different plans though. He basically came up with a list of items he needs and have been pressuring me into getting them before I even speak to my advisors. Basically, he wants a new car. Stereotypically, he wants something like a Tesla, which he absolutely doesn't need. He wants us to move in together and for me to buy a house with a pool. He's now starting talking about kids, that we can afford them blah blah, even though he knows that I am child-free. I've been refusing every single request, telling him that necessities come first and that money is under lock and key until I speak with my financial advisors. He's not very happy about this. He's been calling me a Scrooge, telling him I don't love him anymore, and calling me a cheapskate. Worst of all, he now told every one of our friends about this, and they've started pressuring me as well, asking me to fund nights out, etc. And they've been very cruel when I refuse, a-hole being almost a compliment. I'm devastated. Am I really an a-hole in this situation? Am I the a-hole for not wanting to spend frivolously? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Ditch the boyfriend ASAP. Don't buy him a pack of gum, let alone anything else. He's trying to manipulate you with guilt with "if you love me" and by telling mutual friends about your money. I'm so happy for you, using your money so well. Also, be careful with birth control. Sounds like he's trying to baby trap you. I mean, God, why would you even sleep with someone who is trying to bully you like this? Don't even worry about birth control. Just completely stay physically away from this guy. Not the a-hole. You are doing the smart thing with this windfall, as well as keeping it to yourself. It's amazing how many people act entitled and the gimmies come out. Your friends are being the a-hole. Your boyfriend is the a-hole. This man and your friends are showing their true colors. He shouldn't be pressuring you for anything. He just wants access to that money. P.S. Consider going no contact or low contact with these friends while you process all this. +1 on your boyfriend and friends being a-holes. Life-changing money can show you who are really the ones that are friends. Friends wouldn't be asking you for money like that and expecting you to give it up so quick. That kind of money, if used frivolously, goes quick. Don't be a pushover. And please drop the boyfriend. It's been less than a year and he's expecting you to buy a car for him? How does that make sense? Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Unfortunately, your boyfriend now sees you as an ATM, not a girlfriend. It's not you. A sudden influx of money shows people's true colors. He and your friends will not leave you alone about this either. They will suck you dry for the money and then dump you. I would dump him and block them, then move ASAP. You need new friends. I thought the exact same thing. Dump him, the friends, and move. I don't think I would feel safe with people knowing where I live. Next story. Am I the a-hole for pretending not to know my fiancé after she had a meltdown during boarding the plane and was eventually thrown off? I imagine I'm gonna get raked over the coals for this one. So, my fiancé, maybe not for much longer, and I were on our way back from a vacation recently. It was a great time, and everything went off without an issue. That is, until we started boarding the plane. Now I know better, so I only bring a small backpack with essentials in case I don't get my checked bags. I can survive out of this backpack, and it will always pass baggage check for size and weight. Done a lot of traveling, so why fight the system? My fiancé didn't want to listen to my advice though, and chose to bring basically a regular size bag that barely fits the standards of carry-on. But generally speaking, the airline worker doesn't want to deal with the trouble and allows it through. But this time, the airline worker was not having it. It was a packed flight. We were boarding last in economy, and it was just a crap show. I got through just fine first with my little backpack, but I could hear the argument from the boarding tunnel thingy, and it was getting heated. I was about to go back and try to smooth it out, but my fiancé rushed past and just boarded a plane. I assumed, not having heard it super clearly, that the attendant had given in and let her on. That was not a case. So, we found our seats and settled in. I was pretty tired, and I could tell she was upset, so I just kinda tucked into the window and put my hat down and tried to take a nap. But soon after, the airline worker and a cop shows up, and they're not messing around and want her off the plane. She tries to plead and cry, etc., but they're not having it. It may be in a moment of panic or just plain self-preservation. When a cop asked if we're together, I blurted out, "No," shaking my head emphatically. I got killed dagger eyes from her as she shut up and grabbed her bag and followed the cop out. She was also swearing and screaming the whole way out. Now, obviously, this is well after the event that I'm posting this. But when she did eventually get home after she caught the next flight out with the bag checked, lol, I was there to pick her up. She obviously thought I was the a-hole. And to be honest, almost everyone I know thinks I am, except my boss and co-workers, who for context were very much relying on me to be back on time, which I gave my word I would for a really important project that was time sensitive. They were all very happy I didn't get thrown off too. So am I the a-hole for this self-preservation? Not the a-hole. Get out while you still can. This is how she'll be forever. She'll never learn from this experience. Disagree. Nothing like the humiliation of a cop escorting you off a plane to learn that rules really are a thing. Loss of time, money, and public humiliation are very powerful teachers. And now Opie can reference this whenever she forgets her social decorum. Acting up in a restaurant? Jeez, I hope they don't escort you out of here like they did off that plane. But how is it possible an adult human needs that level of intervention? I have a hard time believing she'll reform. People like that just don't get humiliated. They get indignant and dig in on their wrong position harder. I couldn't deal. I'd be out. Honestly, I was ready to rake you over the coals. But now I'm thinking not the a-hole. This isn't like your fiancé had an anxiety attack over fear flying. It sounds to me like a full-on grown woman temper tantrum, which only happened because she didn't listen to your travel advice. To be fair, I don't travel light either, but I also don't try to put my giant luggage in the overhead bins. She did this to herself. I don't travel light either. I pay extra for luggage on flights. My significant other pokes fun at me about it with his backpack. But I say it's a luxury I choose to pay for. Next time he pokes fun, this story's coming out. Well, would you rather? Not the a-hole, and please seriously consider whether you want events like this to be a normal part of your life. Because someone who reacts like that when she knows she's in the wrong is not going to change. Although, if not for the work thing, and if you wanted to save the relationship, you probably should have gotten off with her. Not because she was anyway in the right, but because she's going to hold this over your head and sulk for a very long time. I'll be honest, I wouldn't have even argued with the airline worker. I'm just not like that. I would have smiled and politely agreed to whatever they wanted. I hate conflicts that are unnecessary. Conflicts like that can get you blacklisted. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near that either. Same for the police involvement. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not including my siblings' children in my will even though I'm child-free? I, female 39, have always had an almost non-existent relationship with my half-sister, female 59, and half-brother, male 57, in large due to our age gap, and that our father passed away when I was 2 years old. I grew up with my mother and always saw myself as a single child, even though my mother would talk about my siblings. Starting from when I was 14 years old, my siblings and I have made some attempts to create a relationship, but it has never worked. We are fundamentally different people. And if we didn't share a family connection, I would never have spent time with them. So we are low contact. I had a rocky start in my work life, having a degree I couldn't use. I got back to school for a new degree when I was 30. It worked out good, and I'm today working a high-paying job. For my days living on minimum wage and studying, I have learned to take care of my money. I was recently able to buy my own house, I don't have children, and no expensive hobbies. All this adds up to me being able to put money away each month, which is a big deal for me. Insecurity. When my father passed away, we divided inheritance. So my mother, as they were married, got 50% and us children split the other half equally. My siblings didn't want any of the memorabilia my father collected. Little value but cool things, so I have them now. Anyway, the other day my sister calls me. I'm a little taken aback, but okay, I can live with awkward small talk for 20 minutes. Then out of the blue, she asks me if I have a will. I didn't think, but just blurt out yes. She then asks me if her and my brother's children are the beneficiaries. I'm honest and say no. I have met my brother's 2 girls once when I was about 20 years old. I have never even met my sister's children. She then starts to question who I will leave everything to. I say that father's memorabilia will go to an aviator museum. Some things will be given to close friends as they hold shared memories. The rest is to be sold, and together with my savings be split evenly between an organization helping people with alcohol and drug addiction and cancer research. My sister is livid, telling me that that is money that can make a big difference in my siblings' children's lives. Sure, but I don't feel obligated to provide that for them. If I wanted to leave my money to someone, it would be my boyfriend's son. I have seen him grow up and been like an aunt to him. Now my brother is calling too and saying that I'm being cruel and that I am stealing both the past and the future from his children. So am I the a-hole for not including my siblings' children in my will? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You don't know your siblings' children. They don't know you. You aren't particularly close to your siblings and never have been. It's entitled to the point of being absolutely tacky that they think they can shake you down for money on the basis of shared DNA, which never meant anything to them during your formative years and doesn't mean much now. Not the a-hole. You barely have contact with your sister, and she calls you out of the blue to ask if you have a will? Also, you're only 39. Something sounds fishy, like she wants something. Keep your guard up. 100%. Sounds like someone is banking on OP's money. Not the a-hole. They are 20 years older than you. Why would they expect you to pass earlier than their kids? They had no problem taking their portion of the estate, and you were a minor. So ask them if you should assume they stole from you because you didn't get to grow up with as much financial security with 2 working parents like they did. And how can you steal money that belongs to you? Being child-free is being the rich aunt/uncle's heirs. Last story. Am I the a-hole for feeling entitled to food I did not technically pay for? I, 34 male, recently went to a get-together with some friends of mine. I get along with most everyone within the group, outside of one person who we will call Mike. Mike is someone who I feel is selfish and can be a bully, and I feel it has gotten worse recently. However, we have all been friends since high school, so I put up with it. Well, Mike decides he wants to have everyone over to play some Settlers of Catan. We used to get together a lot more to play board games or Smash Bros or whatnot, but as we all have gotten older, that obviously happened less and less. Fortunately, everyone's schedules lined up and we were able to plan this. Now, it is important for me to insert here that recently I had been off work for a month. It was of no fault of my own, and fortunately I am back to work now. Because of that though, money's really tight for me right now and my friends all knew this. We all go to Mike's to hang out, and it was a great night. We end up staying longer than expected and people get hungry. Some people decide they want to order pizza. They ask if I want to throw in some money for pizza and I say, no, gotta watch what I spend for a bit. Obviously I wanted some and could probably afford it, but I was trying to be responsible. Another friend of mine, we'll call Jake, offered to put in for me, but I tell him, no, I will be okay. Maybe this is where I messed up. Anyways, right as they are about to order, I remember that I have a coupon for the place they are ordering from. It had been my birthday a week prior and received it as a gift or something. I let them know I have it and that they can use it, and it added on a medium 1 topping for free. They're excited for it and accept it. I guess it's important to note that I have offered it willingly, not as a trade or bargain. The pizza arrives and everyone digs in. I ask everyone if it's cool if I have some of the medium pizza. At first, Jake and a couple others say yes, but then Mike says, you didn't put any money in. Why are you asking for pizza? I explained that this pizza wouldn't even be here if not for me, but he says that it also wouldn't be here without him because everyone else paid for the other pizza. Jake offered to throw in a few bucks for me again, but Mike said it's BS that I tried to pull this. It really put a damper on the night, and I ended up leaving without having any. Mike sent messages in the group chat about how I tried to pull a fast one on everyone. Most everyone is trying to stay out of it, outside of Jake, who is still sticking by me. I understand that I didn't put money in, but I can't help but feel like he is making way too big a deal about this. So I come to you all. Am I the a-hole? Edit. There appears to be some misunderstanding, but the coupon was spend $20, get a one-topping pizza for free. Not that I just add on one topping to an existing pizza. An entirely new pizza was added. Wow, not the a-hole. Your coupon bought that pizza, so you contributed. But the guy has issues. Who tries to deny a friend food and humiliate them? Absolute prick. Dude, you got them a free medium pizza. Does Mike want to pay you back for that? Unbelievable. Mike is totally the a-hole here. Did he read the first chapter of A Christmas Carol and see a life path? Jesus Christ. Even if the guy hadn't had a freaking coupon, if he were at my house, he'd be eating. Opie's friends angers me too. It is food. Opie, you are not the a-hole by any stretch of the imagination, but you need better friends. Not the a-hole. You didn't assume and take pizza. You asked for a slice of the pizza your coupon provided. My friend group would have looked at you like an alien and go, duh, we aren't just going to eat in front of you. So long as this wasn't a constant thing. Mike doesn't sound like a great friend. Agreed. This whole thing is strange. Someone is having a tough time. Friends help out. If this is how Mike treats a friend, imagine how he treats strangers. Opie, not the a-hole. Am I the a-hole for leaving an equal inheritance to my stepson as my bio kids? I, 62 male, met my current wife, 39 female, 4 years ago, and we got married 2 years ago. She has a son, 12 male, from her previous marriage who lives with us full-time. His dad visits occasionally but lives in another country. I also have 2 adult children, 34 male and 32 female, from my first marriage. I will admit I don't have the greatest track record as a father. While my bio kids were growing up, we were kind of distant, as their mother and I were constantly fighting. She was a stay-at-home mom while I was running a business to varying degrees of success. However, when they became adults, we, bio kids and I, became much closer. My business also grew a lot and I am quite wealthy now compared to struggling to pay bills when my bio kids were growing up. My relationship with my stepson is quite good. He doesn't call me dad but seems to view me as a very close uncle. I do my best to be a good father figure to him. If I'm being completely honest, I hope that eventually he will see me as a father figure, especially given that his father is never really around and constantly disappoints him. So here's the issue. A few weeks ago, while I was going through some things in the basement with my bio son and daughter, the topic of inheritance came up. I mentioned how I planned to include my stepson in my will and he would get a third of the inheritance. I don't remember how exactly we got to this topic. Well, my kids are furious with me now, telling me this was unfair, as they had to grow up with a cold, emotionally and physically distant / unavailable father who struggled to bring food to the table. They mentioned how my stepson gets to live a luxurious childhood with a much kinder and more present / emotionally available and supportive parent than they had ever had, while not even being my real son. Then on top of that, they would lose out on the inheritance they feel they had earned for working so hard to repair our relationship after all the damage I had done to them. To clarify, that's not something they said. It's something I'm trying to be cognizant of because they absolutely could have walked away, but chose to try to repair our relationship before my business was even successful, and they both had a hand in making the business successful because they were willing to help out. I can understand their point of view. They feel like I'm sliding them from my new family with a much younger wife, and what they claim as a do-over child, which is not, but I can see why they see it that way. I want to do right by my stepson, but also my bio kids who did have to put up with a lot more during their childhood than my stepson. Am I the a-hole for planning to leave an equal inheritance to him? Now for the top comments. You're the a-hole without a doubt. Why are you treating some random kid that you've known for 2 minutes the same as your actual real kids who you have apparently failed over and over again? I guess you can leave him a bit, but 1/3 is ridiculous. Agreed. He has this kid in his life for a hot minute, and he's already in the will? He isn't on the same level as the bio kids just yet. I would have waited to make sure the new wife and kid actually stick around before adding them in. And the kid doesn't even see him as a father figure either, just a close uncle. Absolutely wild. You're the a-hole. While theoretically it is lovely to leave something to a stepchild, you leaving an equal share to the child of your trophy wife is really tone deaf. Your bio children are not being greedy for not being pleased by your showing once again that you are not treating them fairly. You have shown them that you, who are old enough to be this kid's grandfather, now has decided to have a new family as a do-over. Also, you do realize that your stepchild is going to wind up with more than the bi kids anyway, since you are going to leave a sizable amount to your new trophy wife and you will almost assuredly die before her given the large difference in age. The stepchild is going to inherit from his mother the amount you left to her, as well as the 1/3 directly. And I bet you are also leaving the wife your house and other valuable personal property. A lot of bio kids have been screwed out of stuff when the father takes up a new family. When my grandfather passed 2 years ago, we discovered that he had moved most major assets into solely second wife's name. So the terms of the will screwed my dad and his brothers and all the grandchildren out of basically everything. He was also a man who married a much younger woman. She was my oldest uncle's girlfriend in high school for some added drama, and was an absolute a-hole to my grandmother and their children their entire married life and beyond. We expected nothing, because he was awful, and got nothing. But that extra FU of his second family getting everything, except the token "I didn't forget you" stuff, and they don't see what the problem is the reason I'm low contact with any of that part of the family since grandma passed. Next story. Am I the a-hole for buying my nephew a gift rather than giving his parents the money? My 33 female nephew just turned 1. My sister-in-law Hannah, 34, and brother-in-law Dave, 34, are dual income and doing alright. They're firmly middle class. They own a home and go on a couple vacations a year. They decided to host a big party for their first and only child's first birthday. A little background. My husband and I are kind of known for getting good birthday gifts for nieces and nephews. They range in age from 1 to 13, and we know that the other two families struggle more financially than Hannah and Dave, who this post is about. So we have historically always asked what their child would like, and go out of our way to get them something special. I'm not talking big-ticket items like an iPad, but like $150 to $200 for each gift, each year. I asked Hannah what her son William would like, that he doesn't already have at home. She didn't answer my text. But later in the day, she sends a mass email to both sides of the family and friends who are attending William's first birthday. This was the email. "Hi friends and family. We look forward to having you at William's first birthday. Some of you are asking what you can buy for him. What he really needs is a new deck to play on in our backyard. Therefore, we ask that everyone donate funds towards that goal, rather than physical gifts. The deck will cost a total of $10,000 and we anticipate that 35 of you will be attending. Please give as you're able. William will be so excited by this addition to his outdoor space. Love, Hannah, Dave, and William." So off the bat, this request sat weird with me. I understand shifting towards experience-based gifts over physical gifts. I see the environmental argument for that, and also the human element. But that's not what this was. It was a deck. And I'm fairly certain Hannah and Dave can afford this deck without a fundraiser. Anyway, the part that makes me an a-hole is that I decided to totally disregard the email and spent $200 on a new train table for William. I had noticed that I fell in love with the one at our house that our boys have. I justified it because he's too young to realize that his parents are cheating him out of gifts, as I see it. Hannah noticed the large box at a party among a pile of cards filled with money. She asked who brought it, and my husband, her brother, said, "We did." She said, "I specifically sent an email after getting your text. Did you not read it?" Husband told her to take it up with me. Later on, she told me she was really frustrated and disappointed in me because she expected we would be contributing the most to the deck, as we have more money than the other family members. I said we wanted to get something just for William. Hannah scowled and told the rest of the family that I was using her son's birthday to grandstand and make them look bad. Rest of the family split on it. So Reddit, am I the a-hole? Lol, not the a-hole. This is just glorious. She expected we would be contributing the most to the deck, as we have more money. Jesus, the entitlement. Hannah scowled and told the rest of the family that I was using her son's birthday to grandstand and make them look bad. She made herself look bad by requesting that her family finance essentially in addition to her home, instead of buying a 1-year-old child some toys and outfits. He's probably just starting to walk and can't quite talk yet. but he is so excited about that new deck. My dad and stepmom had a deck remodel when my middle nephew was less than a year. He liked his blankets and toys way more than the deck itself. Not the a-hole. The deck will cost a total of $10,000 and we anticipate that 35 of you will be attending. That's a "give us $300 for home improvements" email. It's totally inappropriate. Let's chalk it up to them behaving oddly due to the stress of the current financial crisis. You buying a child's gift for a child's birthday party was perfectly appropriate. They were wrong to A. ask for a wad of cash, and B. then demand to know who dare buy their child a gift instead of giving them a wad of cash. Because she expected we would be contributing the most to the deck as we have more money than the other family members. This just gets worse. I guess it wasn't a "give us $300 email. It was a hint hint. Stacy, you should give us $1,500 while everyone else gives us $250 email. I honestly think that the deck would be the one of those projects that's never completed, with the money going elsewhere. Then again, I'm very cynical. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not chipping in for my brother and his husband's surrogacy fund and prohibiting my parents from donating as well, since I support them financially? They live a super lavish life. In my family, I am the only one close to financially stable. My parents earned enough to have a middle-class income, but my mom was a big shopper and my dad would blow his money at the casino. Now, my parents are at an age where they can no longer work. They mainly live off my mom's pension and the money I give them every month to support them. My brother went into dance after college and his job after school was working as a retail associate at a luxury store. But he also has the same problem with his money, where all his money he spends on clothes and nights out. My brother married this guy who is 20 years older than him. Brother is 26. This guy's in his late 40s. Initially, this guy framed himself as the rich older guy, but that isn't the case. Here is the thing. They are now asking everyone to donate them money so they can pay for a surrogate in Mexico. First of all, I find this whole thing skeevy as heck with this poor woman from Mexico. But financially, these guys are going on trips left and right. They constantly lease and swap out cars. So when they asked me for money, I told them no. They tried to guilt me, and I said no, not at all. Then I get a call from my mom about taking out a home equity line of credit, and I was like, absolutely not. I told my mom and these guys that if they care about this so much, they can save up for it. And I forbid her to give money to my brother and his partner. She's like, okay then, I'll give a little bit. I tell her no. I tell her I am the one that pays their bills. If I find out that they gave a cent, I'm going to cut them off as well. When my brother and his partner found out about this, they were very upset with me, and I told them I don't care. They are now calling me homophobic, etc., and that I am ruining their happy life. I told them I don't care. They can start saving money themselves, but I'm not going to spend a cent of my money to finance their lifestyle. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. I don't think anyone but them should be asked to pay for their surrogacy costs. If they can't pay the surrogate fees, I wonder if they'll be able to over 18 years of child rearing costs. Opie's not the a-hole, but this rationale is always the worst. It makes no sense. Surrogacy is crazy expensive, as is IVF and adoption. Having money over 18 years to raise a child is very different than having to drop upwards of $100,000 at a one fell swoop. But again, to be clear, because I know someone will just skip right over this, Opie's not the a-hole here. It is not his responsibility to pay for his brother and his partner to have a surrogate. He already goes above and beyond for his parents, and he is not in the wrong for telling them he'll cut them off if they give his money to his brother indirectly. Not the a-hole. It is not homophobic to not want to give money to extremely financially irresponsible people. I do think you're on the fence with telling your parents what to do, but seeing as you also pay their bills, I would have done the same. The fact that they even tried to turn this into some sort of homophobia thing is disturbing. I hate when people do that. Like there is real hatred out there, and here they are throwing phobe around. Like no, I'm not meeting your financial demands. You are free to live as you like, but be a grown-up and finance your own life. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my son that I don't play favorites and to get over his jealousy? I have 2 children, Laurel 24 and Kevin 15. Laurel is from my first marriage. Kevin and my wife think that I favor Laurel, but that's just not true. They've complained about it over the years, but now it's at a boiling point. The most recent complaint is that I gave her a free house. None of their accusations have ever been true, but this one especially isn't. I've been with the same company for over 35 years. Decades ago, my job made me and several other employees travel to their headquarters so often that they bought us condos in the home city because it was cheaper at a time than constantly paying for hotels. At a time, property in the city was cheap. We had free use, but technically the company owned them and they paid all expenses. In 2020, obviously all business travel stopped. At a time, Laurel was moving to that city with her new husband and they were looking for a place. Because it was just sitting empty and would be for a long time, I told her that they could live in a condo until things went back to normal. It would be safe and clean, and it would give them a chance to save money for a better place for their own as they were expecting their first child. In 2021, two things happened. The company decided to shut down all physical offices for a permanent work from home, and I decided to take my retirement. With closing the physical offices, they also really wanted to get rid of the condos. They offered them to us at an extra discount. I didn't want it, but Laurel did. So she and her husband offered to pay the cost, and I let them. It was less than 1/4 of market cost, but it wasn't free or a gift to her. Kevin realizes that there's not going to be anything like that for him, and he is raging about it. He claims I've always done things like this, and that I gave her a house, but I'm probably going to kick him out at 18 like every American parent. My wife is on his side and angry about this, and that I let Laurel be a stay-at-home mother, and not her. None of these things are true. I didn't give her a free house. I let her buy one for a discount, because she happened to be buying at the exact time that there was any opportunity for one. Also, she got to be a stay-at-home mother because she happened to be having a baby at the only time in modern history that required people to stay home, not because I was funding her. I realized how it must look, but really, she just ended up doing things in special situations where there were unique opportunities. I don't think I'm in the wrong here, because I don't treat my children differently. If I happen to come across an opportunity for Kevin to do the same with the same, I would make sure he's aware, but I can't imagine I would. Not the a-hole, but honestly, I feel like your wife is the source of what Kevin is spewing out. What 15-year-old boy cares about housing? It seems like your wife is using Kevin to try and get you to buy a property in his or her name to even the scoring between Kevin and Laurel. My thoughts exactly. There just ain't no way a 15-year-old on their own would suddenly realize there's not going to be anything like that for him. Not really. Most kids these days know they will never be able to afford a home. Not the a-hole. I have a question for the wife and son. My hypothetical daughter is learning piano and my coworker has one they want rid of, so I get it at 1/4 value. My fake daughter pays for the 1/4 herself. I spent nothing. Do I now owe my hypothetical son a piano? Is that their reasoning? Or a step further, I drive my fake kids to the mall and we walk around. My daughter's favorite store has a clearance sale on, so she's able to use her own money to buy a huge load of stuff. Do I now owe my son the value of the savings she made? I can't get my head around the entitlement here. Apparently, if you're married to Opie's wife, you do owe her hypothetical son a piano, because you should have told your hypo daughter and grandchild to go pound sand and seized the opportunity for yourself so that you can give the piano for free to your son. Or if it's a house and not a piano, save it for 9 years while paying taxes on it until your son is the same age and can pay you outdatedly cheap price for it. Then, and only then, would you be doing the fair thing. Seriously. Tell me she's a wicked stepmother without telling me she's a wicked stepmother. Am I the a-hole for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? My female 28, sister-in-law Amy, female 26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or domes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I have just paid a bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the a-hole, and I'll admit I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting right on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said no. We only need one bill because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, "This wallet?" She was extremely furious. She said that I should not have touched or grabbed her wallet. So am I the a-hole for taking her wallet and bringing it to the restaurant? Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Not the a-hole, but you totally should have flipped the script. Left your wallet at home. Only brought your license, so she had to cover the whole bill. Then never take her out to a restaurant again. Wish I thought of that. Personally, I like the way you did it better. I wish I could have seen her face when she saw the wallet. She made a reservation and invited you. Etiquette says she should be responsible for 100% of that bill, not the a-hole. It's the same principle with dates. The person who asks and chooses the restaurant, ideally with the other person in mind, then pays the bill, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Awesome power move. But when is your husband gonna step up and make her pay her share? They've bullied and manipulated him like this his whole life. He's gotten so used to it that he doesn't see the bigger issue. Old habits die hard. I'm trying to help him stand up for himself, but it's an uphill battle. Fish don't realize they're wet until they got onto land. You need to pluck your hubby from that toxic pond. OP, you need to mosey over to r/justknowmother-in-law and to a therapist website. I have several cringe mother-in-law stories that I've wanted to post to that sub. I just might do it. Little update. Amy just called me. She saw this post and she yelled at me for bad-mouthing her on the internet. Honestly, I don't care. Amy, hopefully reading all these comments is a wake-up call for you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother out over a joke? I, 25 male, and my girlfriend Ava, 25 female, have been dating for 2 years now, and we recently moved in together. Due to the pandemic starting around the time we began dating, she'd never met my older brother Jared, 36 male, till now. For context, Ava was involved in a pretty bad car crash when she was 16. While stopped at a red light, she was rear-ended by a drunk driver. I've seen the pictures and they're pretty bad, so I'll spare the details. Ava made it out alive with a fractured hip, broken nose, concussion, and some pretty sizable scars. Because of the accident, Ava still goes to physical therapy for her hip and has a bad memory. If it's not written down, it goes in one ear and out the other. Her words, not mine. Yesterday morning, Ava left pretty early for her appointment. She has forgotten her notebook at home, which has all her important info and lists for the day. So when she got home, she was shocked to see Jared in the apartment. It took a minute or so to remind her what was going on. When she remembered, she smiled and went to introduce herself to Jared. Jared laughed at her and said, "I didn't know you were dating the fish from Nemo. At least she's not a fatty." Ava was reasonably shocked by this and tried to continue on with introducing herself. Jared said he didn't need to know her name because he was going to call her Dory. He then made a joke about Ava's scar. She was wearing a tank top, so you can see the scar going from her right shoulder down her arm. The second Jared said that, I got super angry and kicked him out, telling him he wasn't welcome in our house and not to contact me. All day my parents have been calling and telling me I'm overreacting and should apologize and talk to Jared again. Ava is thankful I kicked him out, and our friends agree I did the right thing. I feel bad now, like maybe my reaction was a little out of line and over the top. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm not sure why this needs to be said, but defending your girlfriend from ableism is always the right play. Until or unless Jared apologizes genuinely, as in actually understands he was wrong and why. I'd go further and just stop associating with him altogether. Honestly, you would be the a-hole if you just let this slide and acted like nothing happened. Also, who starts saying all this bullying stuff to someone they just met? Oh right, jackass. Not the a-hole. Your brother is a huge a-hole, and some other really choice words that would get me in trouble here. I'd go no contact with him over this. There is absolutely no excuse for his bad behavior. And tell your parents that they raised a bad seed, and if they keep defending him, go no contact with them as well. What kind of people enable such atrocious behavior? Defend a horrible behavior and the person perpetuating said bad behavior. Do apples not fall far from the tree, or is he the golden child? He's the God-given golden child who can do no wrong. That explains a lot. Hope his child doesn't take after him. By the way, OP, you should have named him Richard in the post. You know, because he acts like one. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my in-laws they have to call before visiting? Recently, my wife 29 female and I 32 male bought a house. I told her family that they are welcome if they want to visit. They just have to ask first. And because we have a newborn baby, I also told them that for now we will be hosting only short visits from the baby's grandparents, with no more than 3 people at the same time. I've never been a social person. I've never visited anyone before asking or being invited, and nobody has ever visited me without asking first. Not even my parents. I thought that was a common rule of basic education, but who knows? That's why I'm asking if I'm the a-hole. As soon as the baby was born, they started coming without asking, staying from morning till evening and regularly making a mess in our kitchen. I told them that we don't need help. I work from home and my wife is on maternity leave, but they are welcome to visit. On Sunday, my wife's parents, siblings, and nieces showed up. We were asleep, and they called like 20 times. After that, they started sending pictures of our entrance saying they're outside. Finally, they woke me up. I went out and told them we were asleep. They wanted to go in, but I assumed they saw my face at a time and just left. Yesterday, my wife was not at home. I was changing the baby's diaper and suddenly my father-in-law starts to video call me like crazy. I finished baby duties and called him back, and he was angry AF and yelled at me why wouldn't I open the freaking door. That was it. I waited until my wife came back and talked to her father and mother. I told them that they have to ask/call before coming. My wife's mom freaked out and told me that if she has to call, she'll never come back. My wife's dad was like, "Dude, I called you like 5 times." So I told him what's the freaking purpose of calling if he does it when he's already outside. It's our home, our rules, our privacy. So they got pretty mad, and that made my wife upset. She agrees with me. Everyone has to call before visiting. We could be busy, or not at home, or not wanting to see anyone at a time. But her parents and siblings seemed so casual about it that I'm starting to doubt if I'm the a-hole. And everyone can show up to everyone's place anytime. Not the a-hole. It's our home, our rules, our privacy. Nail hit squarely on the head. Who has ever told them this is okay? You never show up to someone's house uninvited expecting to go inside, unless you've been explicitly been told that it's okay. And when they have a newborn, is the exact wrong time to do this. Not the a-hole. I think it's basic manners to call before you come. It's your house. They either respect your rules or don't come. That's what I said. Ask them if you need to get your attorney involved. Have cease and desist letters sent to them, restraining orders if needed, as well as their arrests. I totally get you. What's stopping me is that this will hurt my wife and my relationship. Maybe that's what they're looking for. Not the a-hole. Since they are so disrespectful and can't figure out how to call first, I would make a new rule. Her parents are not allowed to visit unless personally invited by you or your wife. They're not welcome. No more self-invites regardless of calls. They can come when they're invited. That's what I said first, but my wife didn't agree. Since this is a marriage, I told her, okay, I'm gonna do my part. They don't have to be invited. They just have to call/ask first, but they still won't. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying no to helping my sister-in-law's foster kid? I'm 26 male and married to my amazing wife Leah, 25 female, and we are expecting our first baby in November. I'm a foster kid. I aged out of the system after a pretty awful experience with the system. I have trauma. Lots of trauma. It's not something I can talk about easily, and Leah and my therapist are the only people I have opened up to, and I try not to burden my wife with this. She understands and never pushes, but she has told me that I can tell her anything when I need to. Her sister Janet, 33 female, and brother-in-law Michael, 37 male, are foster parents and biological parents. Their first foster kid has been with them for about 4 months now, and the kid is struggling. The kid hasn't told them much about their experience, but they assume, probably correct, that their time in foster care has not been very positive. Janet wanted me to take her foster kid under my wing and speak to them about being a foster kid and basically act like a therapist. She said based on my own history in the system, I would be the best person to help. But I don't feel up for that. I don't think I can deal with someone else's trauma related to foster care on top of my own. And I don't feel like I could talk about my experiences either or bring up my trauma to the child. Janet and Michael did not like my response. Leah and Janet fought. Then Janet and I disagreed very strongly on it. She told me I was an a-hole, and as a grown man and soon-to-be father, I should be willing to help a child. And how can I expect to be a good father when I have so much trauma that I cannot put aside for a child in need? I feel bad about a kid, and I feel some guilt. But am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This child needs professional therapy, and they have no right to capitalize on your pain for the sake of avoiding that expense. They chose to foster, so this is their responsibility. Put that guilt aside. It's crazy to me because at least in my experiences with the system, the state usually had the kids in therapy anyway, or maybe that was just our situation with my niece. But the kids usually had medical expenses covered, and I thought therapy fell in with that. They need to get this kid professional help for sure. Not Daeho. They don't understand trauma or the risks that you'd been taking with your own mental health. They don't understand that far from finding it helpful, their foster child might be upset by it. If you don't feel able to do it, then setting that boundary is important. I actually think your response shows a lot of self-awareness and was the healthiest one you could make, talking as a former kid of the system. Not Daeho. You are neither obligated nor frankly qualified to be this kid's therapist or mentor. You would be harming yourself and potentially doing more damage to him than the system already has. This young person needs a proper therapist and/or a willing, trained mentor, not a reluctant layman who just happens to be handy and to have suffered some similar trauma. I have never been in the foster system, so this is partly guesswork and partly observation of peers who were in the system. One of the things the system seems to strip away and discard is the ward's sense of privacy. Strangers often know your story, sometimes pieces of it that you don't, and you don't get a choice. Your sister-in-law's request is another example of that disregard, however well intended, for the concept of confidentiality. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for not helping my sister with her IVF solely because of her husband? My 34 female sister Meg, 31 female, cheated on my ex-brother-in-law, Josh, with his best friend Liam. They did it for over 4 years until Josh found out and broke up. Liam and Meg have been officially together for 5 years now. My ex-brother-in-law has been my best friend since elementary school, and my sister knew him through me. And despite me saying it would make things uncomfortable, she insisted on hitting on him until he noticed and they started dating. My relationship with Meg took a toll on me because I was annoyed with her for doing this to my best friend, but we never cut contact because of my nephew, her son with Josh and my godson. 1 year ago, I received a large amount of money from inheritance, and because I have a good financial condition, I decided that half would go to help my parents and siblings. My parents received 50% and my 4 siblings, 12.5% each. My parents decided to renovate the house. 2 of my brothers paid off their house debts. Meanwhile, my other sister asked if she could pay for IVF treatment with her girlfriend with that money, and I said yes. At no instance did I control how they wanted to spend their money. Well, Meg was super happy with my help and talked about paying for IVF with Liam because of his infertility, and I hesitated. I'm still best friends with Josh, and I can tell you what they did with him cost years of therapy to get him to start thinking about dating someone. I don't talk to Liam 99% of the time, and I only helped my sister, because after all, she had my nephew. I didn't go to the wedding, and I always made it very clear that it wasn't a relationship I would support, but they are free. So I told her that I didn't feel comfortable giving her the money for this, as it involves Liam, her and their relationship specifically, so I'd rather help in some other way. Renovate house, pay off debts, or refurbish the house, and that I would take double care that the money didn't go to that. She started screaming, telling me to get over something that had nothing to do with me, and that was years ago, and that I was treating her and my other sister differently because of the past. We argued a lot, and I decided to create a fund for my godson that only he could handle at age 18 instead of helping her. Well, this created even more mess because she claims that I helped everyone but her, and that I was cruel in denying helping her to have another child when they can't naturally. I really don't feel comfortable doing this. Am I the a-hole? By the way, they didn't receive this inheritance. She never received the money because it went to my nephew's fund before she ever received. Well, I'll put it here. They told me about the plans. I didn't ask, just because they were excited. After I told them at a family dinner about the money, I said, you can renovate your house, pay your debts, and my other sister asked if she could use it for something else, IVF, on another day. So Meg found out, then talked to me before I gave any money. Not the a-hole. It's your inheritance money. You can get to choose what to do with it. I think setting up a fund for your nephew is a brilliant idea. If she wants another kid so bad, she can go cheat on Liam. Haha, that's awesome. OP, not the a-hole. Your money. I like the trust fund idea. Not the a-hole. Okay, so you are treating your 2 sisters differently. So what? one of them didn't put your best friend through the ringer. The money is yours. You could have chosen to keep the money. You could have given it to Josh, an art museum, or the local animal shelter. Meg doesn't have any say in what you do with the money. If she really wants another child, she could try adoption. Also, by helping her nephew, by proxy Opie is still helping her sister. Meg is so obsessed with starting a new little family that she's forgetting about the son she already has. Her pouting about the money going to her son is indicative to the quality of her parenting. If she cannot afford IVF, then she cannot afford another child. Sorry. Absolutely not the a-hole. I hope Josh is doing better. Am I the a-hole for agreeing to walk my sister down the aisle? When I was 14, my mother died giving birth to my now 20-year-old sister, Elise. My father blamed Elle and started excessively drinking. At 14, I basically became the main caretaker of my 3 siblings. My aunt and a few family friends were able to help out, but the most they could do was bring us groceries and handle inheritance. For the next 4 years, I paid a babysitter for when I was at school and took care of my siblings for the rest of the day. When I graduated high school, I decided against college and immediately took up a part-time job. My dad was almost never in the picture. He fell into a heavy depression and almost died of overdose 3 times. I knew he wanted to be involved. I tried to help him as much as I could, but it hurts to watch. When Elise was around a year old, she started learning to talk and started non-stop calling me Dada, and it broke my heart in so many ways. I tried to get her to stop at first, but eventually I stopped. I reasoned that if she saw me as her dad, then I was doing something right. When I was 19, my dad overheard me helping Elise with her reading and she called me her dad. He blew up in both of us. That I was trying to take his place and she doesn't deserve to be a part of this family after she killed her mom. I decided right then and there that I was done trying with him, and used my inheritance and my aunt's help to move me and my siblings out into a small apartment. It was so sudden, I guess it snapped him into reality. It's been over a decade since then and he's now gotten sober. A few years ago, he decided he wanted to form a bond with Elise. She was hesitant, but agreed. Elise is now engaged and is in the middle of planning her wedding. We've always been very close, so I knew I'd at least give a speech. But when she approached me to ask if I'd be the one to walk her down the aisle, I was overjoyed. I was at a planning dinner last night when I joked that I need a nicer suit now that I'd be on the aisle. Everyone laughed, but my dad just looked confused. He asked what I meant. When Elise cut in and explained that she wanted me to walk her down the aisle, since it felt right because I always walked her to school every day her entire life. Aunt and my other siblings thought it was sweet, but my dad and grandma pulled me aside later to tell me that they understood where Elise was coming from, and they didn't blame her. But I should have rejected the offer because it's traditionally a fatherly role, and I know how hard my dad has been working to be a good father to Elise. I told them I'd think about it. A few days have passed and my grandma and some family friends have called me every day telling me I'd be the a-hole to take this away from my dad. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Tell your dad and grandma that, traditionally, a man accepts responsibility for their children and doesn't blame them for things out of their control. Traditionally, men don't become alcoholics and force children to become parents. Tell them that, traditionally, it falls on the person whom the bride wants. I forgot to add, Opie, you are an amazing person, and you should definitely walk down your daughter on her special day. Family isn't just biological, it's who you choose. This, print this out and hand it to them. Not stay home. He never was a father to her. They already explained themselves. It's a fatherly role, which he did for her entire life while he was a drunk loser hating her. Not stay home. Where the heck was grandma and these family friends when dad was living at the bottom of the bottle while you raised your sister? It is your sister's day and her decision. She chose you and you should honor her wishes. It's not on you to help whitewash your father's horrible parenting or his emotional mistreatment after your mom died. Exactly. Dad shouldn't get that honor when he blamed an innocent child for something that wasn't her fault. Opie pretty much was the parent from the get-go. Not the least that his father lost his wife, but Opie lost his mother at 14. He stepped the heck up when his father couldn't. He deserves to walk his sister down the aisle, and she deserves to have him walk her. Not stay home. Blaming a child for the death of their mother in childbirth is seriously abusive. The people with their ridiculous opinion that your dad is owed a walk down the aisle took no action to the point where a 19-year-old had to set up a household to keep his siblings safe. That they are getting involved now to protect the interest of the abuser shows they are terrible people. A few years ago, your father decided he wanted to form a bond with your sister? No, that's your call at this point. He doesn't get to just decide he is ready. He was awful her entire childhood, and now his wants are irrelevant. He does not get to have any expectation beyond what your sister is willing to allow. He should be down on his knees thanking her for any chance she is willing to give him. In fact, if you allow a selfish, entitled man to walk your sister down the aisle to be given priority over what your sister wants, you would be the a-hole. Your father may not be drinking, but he is still prioritizing his needs over those of your sister without any concern about her emotional well-being. Her wedding should be a day of joy for her. Her focus should be on starting a new life with someone that she loves, and who loves and respects her. She should not be dreading walking down the aisle on the arm of someone who makes her feel like an unwelcome murderer for years, instead of sharing the moment with someone who loved and supported her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for how I reacted to my niece saying her dream job was to be a trophy wife like me? My niece is 17, so she started thinking about her career/university. Yesterday, the family was asking her if she had decided what she wanted to do with her life. She told them her dream job was the same job as my job. Everyone assumed she meant she wanted to work in marketing because that's what I'm currently doing. My niece said that's not what she wants to do, and she wanted to be a trophy wife. Admittedly, this is a sore spot for me, because a lot of my extended family went from treating me like someone who had worked hard to get to where I currently am, to a glorified trophy wife the second I got married. My parents did call her out for what she said, but my niece said her dad said that's what I was. I got annoyed, and I ended up calling my brother-in-law a prick and telling my niece I didn't think it was a realistic dream for her. My sister was upset with me for what I said to my niece and claims that her husband was only joking. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Let's face it, your sister is upset because she and her husband got caught bad-mouthing you and are covering their embarrassment by getting mad at you. What they should be doing is apologizing to you for talking crap about you behind your back. As far as what you told your niece and your brother-in-law, it was entirely appropriate. What did your sister expect you to say? That they were correct and what they said was fine? Her husband was not joking. I was just joking is the mating call of the a-hole when they get caught. Yeah, this is a total Darvo situation happening here. 17 is old enough to know when you're being absolutely rude as hell. I'll stay home. I was thinking this. A little kid just parrots stuff, but a 17-year-old has enough awareness to know trophy wife equals second marriage to a bimbo equals good to look at. Dumb but generally harmless woman. I think a lot of teens don't know what they want, so they see someone who marries up financially as a good idea. But I would think they would say I want to marry a rich guy, not to be a trophy wife. I definitely knew girls in high school who were unashamed to admit that their life goal was to become a trophy wife. Genuinely proud to aim for nothing other than marrying a guy with money for them to spend. I can't imagine being content with being a leech. Not stay home, and I would have been sorely tempted to say, "Oh no, honey, you have to be pretty for that." But that would not have been a kind or mature thing to say. That is pretty much what she did say. I don't think that's a realistic dream for you. If niece was in her 20s, I'd say it would be fine to use that as a retort. But since niece is only 17, it is likely just repeating what her parents say. That might be a bit too harsh. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for calling the police on my brother for taking my car? I, male 16, have a brother, male 28, who still doesn't have a car or job. He lives with me, my mom, and dad. I got my permit, took my driving test, and got my license this year. My brother actually knows how to drive and used to use my mom's car, but after getting into an accident with it, she took his privileges away. Ever since I got my license, he's been begging me to use my car and I always say no. The reason I don't want him to use it is because I don't want him to crash it. Also, it belongs to me, and I don't want anyone else using it. About 2 weeks ago, he asked me if he could take my car to go pick his friends up. I told him no. My brother has anger issues and can be scary at times, and he started yelling and swearing at me. I was scared, but still said no. Fast forward to the next morning, I saw my car keys missing. I immediately called my brother and asked him. He said yes, he took it and that he promises he'll bring it back to mint condition. I told him I don't care, and I just don't want anyone else using my car in general. After I hung up with him, I thought about calling my mom and dad, but I was furious. I let my anger and frustration get the best of me and called the cops. I told the cops what happened and gave them my license plate, plus where my brother was at, and his friend's address. They arrested him and brought him to the local police station, and my mom had to come pick him up. My mom was pissed and yelled at me when she got home and took my car keys for the time being. My dad was upset too when he got home. They said I was crazy for calling the cops on my own brother and I could have sent him to jail. I don't feel bad and I hope he learned his lesson. Am I the a-hole? Excellent. With his anger issues, he needs to know you'll call the cops on him. You likely just made all of your lives safer from his anger or stealing. You need to save money your parents or brother can't find or know about, so you can get out of there as soon as possible. Not stay home. Not stay home. And bravo, kid. You are a superior boundary setter. Sounds like you need to be that with your family. Well done. No, you wouldn't have sent your brother to jail. He would have done that all to himself by stealing. Surprise, surprise, that's a crime. You're not a-hole and shame on your parents for defending your brother's deplorable, entitled behavior. I'm sorry that your family sucks. They're enablers, aka really bad parents. The man is 28 for heaven's sake. And the mom stopped letting him use her car because the brother wrecked it. So Opie's supposed to just suck it up if that happens to his car? Why? Because it's not his car. That's why the brother wasn't charged. The OP has no legal standing to charge him with theft. He should have called the car's legal owner, their parents. Something he even admit to but didn't because he was angry. Not stay home. He threatened you and then when that didn't work, he stole from you. And you treated him like a thief who threatened you. You had to do what you had to do to protect yourself and establish your boundaries. How have things been since those 2 weeks? Do you feel threatened by him or your parents? The house felt tense for the first couple of days, but my parents seemed to be letting it go. I still don't have my keys back though, and I'm scared to ask them. My brother only speaks to me when he has to. Like I said, he's kind of scary, so I've been feeling on edge. I don't think he'll do anything though, but he definitely let me have it when he came back home with my mom that day. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for interrogating my wife after she hid her extra income? Me, 33, and my wife, 28, are married for 7 years. We have 2 kids, 4 female and 2 female. My wife is a stay-at-home mom after our first daughter, as there were lots of complications with her pregnancy. I make just enough money and my income goes to joint bank account and my wife makes the budget. Our house is my wife's grandma's. It was built in 80s. So we're redoing it little by little and money is always tight, but we make it work. After our second daughter, my wife doesn't have complications anymore. Even the problems from first pregnancy went away. So we're doing better financially for the past year and has started a college fund for the kids. My wife started a vegetable and fruits farm in our yard and roof and is extremely good at it. She made a lot of money out of it. And to the issue now, a few days ago, I woke up early one morning and saw my wife putting the little one in the stroller and leaving. I tried to call her, but she couldn't hear me. After she left, I opened a tab to see her location, but she left her phone at home and there was no way of contacting her. I saw a message from the bank about a deposit in her account, which I didn't know she had. She came back around 7, which is when I usually wake up. But what struck me wrong was she came in through the back door and told me she was in the backyard. I started asking her why she was lying, and that I saw her leaving the house at 4 in the morning. And what is that extra money she deposited in her account? She denied it, and we had some back and forth, and I was getting late for work, so I left. When I came back, she acted like nothing happened, and I started asking her a question about where she went again. She got angry and told me I'm an a-hole for interrogating her, and she doesn't have to tell me about her whereabouts. I was shocked, as this is the first time I've ever heard her talk like this. Or raised her voice. Even the kids were shocked. I didn't say anything afterwards, and she's still angry and hasn't talked to me. Am I the a-hole for questioning her? Now for the comments. I'm going with not the a-hole because if my partner suddenly started acting like that, I'd be suspicious too, and I'd ask for answers. However, I want to suggest something you might not have thought of. As a woman, I was taught to have a separate bank account for my partner, which held emergency funds. This account should be kept secret and the amount should not be disclosed to the partner. This is because historically, a lot of women have stayed in bad, even dangerous, situation because they were financially dependent on their partner. Women have died in situations like this. So many women are taught to have secret emergency funds. If this is the case for your wife, please try to understand that this isn't about you. It doesn't mean she thinks you'd hurt her or leave her, and it doesn't mean she plans on leaving you. But there's a sense of safety and security that comes with knowing you have an escape route, if, God forbid, it's ever needed. Again, I have no idea if that's the case with your wife, but it might be, and in that case, I wouldn't ask any more questions. Just let her have her safety net, even if you don't think she needs one. I was taught the same. My husband was not happy about it until I told him how much I had saved. This account is at least 20 years old now, and we've bought cars, a house, and done renovations from my money. I don't care about the account. I'd be more worried about her taking your kid out at 4 a.m. and not telling you where she is taking the kid. That is a red flag to me. We always discuss our children and where we take them. This is what is really bugging me. Where the hell are you taking a toddler at 4 a.m. when the other parent doesn't know? If my kids wouldn't sleep, I would at least leave a note. Sometimes I would lie about going to a fancy coffee because I wouldn't get their father one, but that is my treat for being up and letting him nap. Honestly, not stay home. You're asking legit questions, and she's lying to you. It's not like it's an unfounded accusations. You saw her do it. Yeah, but it looks like she doesn't want to answer. My doubt is, should I have left it at that instead of pushing? No, you don't do what she did to your spouse. If it was nothing, she would have answered. You might want to hire a PI and find out. The fact that she hasn't talked to you in days is even more troubling.